Hey everyone, how's it going? Rock Pokemon in Generation 1 are interesting because most opponents do use, especially in the early game, normal moves, so there's a massive defensive advantage combined with the fact that they have really good base defense, and in the case of Rhydon, also really good base attack. However, the speed is pretty terrible, and you are double weak to both grass and water, which are used throughout the game. So while we can get a good look at Rhydon's base stats and its move pool, the truth is a lot of this run ends up coming down to how do we deal with the grass and water Pokemon that we're going to encounter. We're not going to encounter one for a little while. For now, let's get to the first major battle in Brock. Now, you might be surprised to see Rhydon at level 8, but Rhydon has some pretty cool tools that will make Geodude not bad. The first is Tail Whip, and although we need to get 2 tackles in a row so that we can really lower Geodude's defenses, it does so little damage to me that we knock it out and quickly get to level 9. Against Onix, we're just looking for Bide, and once we get it, we can spam Tail Whip, and then we can start going for Stomp. I actually mistimed a Stomp because Bide can be between 2 or 3 turns, but although we got really lucky, in the end, with just 3 HP to spare on our very first try, we beat Brock's rock Pokemon with Rhydon. So this goes to show you just how powerful the rock type and its defense is, as well as Rhydon's specific base attack. But as I said just a minute ago, those really aren't the Pokemon I'm super worried about. Our first encounter with the grass Pokemon is going to be Rival 2. But Rival 2's grass Pokemon Bulbasaur only has a 1 in 4 chance of using Vine Whip. We don't get any sand attacks with Pidgeotto, which is really lucky, and then Stomp one-shots the next 2 things. We actually outspeed Bulbasaur, but of course we get the 1 in 4 chance of Vine Whip, so I have to do it again. And then we got hit by sand attack, so I had to do it a 3rd time. But on that 3rd attempt, we don't get Vine Whip, and so it does take us a little bit longer to beat Rival 2 than Brock, but still making pretty good time. Unfortunately, those good times are about to end. But before we do that, I need to give a thank you to a game I've been playing a lot of recently, Raid Shadow Legends. Now is a really great time for new players to get into Raid. I know some of you have genuinely wondered if I play Raid a lot, which I do, and I'll give you the top 3 reasons why I keep playing Raid. For one, Raid is a fun and engaging RPG I can actually play from my phone. Another thing I really like about it is that there are a ton of different game modes, and there's a lot of customization of different champions and gear to optimize for the game modes and make progression. And speaking of the champions, I want to highlight some cool Halloween-themed champions you can get in Raid, like Madame Ceres, who's amazing. Miscreated Monster is also really good, and I also really like Masked Fearmonger. But beyond me liking Raid, if you're thinking of trying it out, now's a really good time. Right now, Raid is doing its Asgard Divide event, and you could potentially get 4 legendary champions based on Norse mythology: Loki, Thor, Freya, and Odin. Right now, for a limited time, Loki the Deceiver, which is a very good champion by the way, is yours, and all you need to do is log into Raid for 7 straight days between now and October 23rd. And logging in more days will give you more rewards that will make Loki a lot better, trust me. So, if you're down to try out Raid, please click my link in the description or scan the QR code that's been on screen. If you do that, you will get the epic champion Uugo. I haven't gotten him yet, but he's really good. You really would want him. And if you get to level 15, which doesn't take long at all, you'll get another epic champion, Fayne, who's really good. But wait, there's more. In addition, after you download with my link, you just need to use the promo Monkey King to get the legendary champion Sun Wukong. Dude, if you do play Raid, he's amazing in the arena. And like we talked about, Loki the Deceiver is yours for logging in for 7 days. So again, click my link in the description and join my clan, the Solo Runners, and I hope to see you on the battlefield. Alright, so for the second video in a row, this last is going to be problematic. However, Rhydon actually outspeeds. Even though our speed is abysmal, it's not as if Oddish's is all that great. So I guess crisis averted for now. Misty would still be an absolute nightmare for Rhydon, so we're going to skip it, which means we have to skip Lieutenant Surge, which isn't exactly ideal, but we can't beat Surge before Misty, which in cases like this really sucks. So the next major battle is going to be Rival 3, and you can see Rhydon is poisoned from trying to get Body Slam. Technically, we don't really need Body Slam because we could just use Dig on most Pokemon other than Pidgeotto. The big thing is whether we're going to be hit by Ivysaur's Vine Whip, and I'm grateful that that didn't happen, so we got another first try victory. Now we have to worry about Misty, and basically, in order to beat Misty, outspeeding both Staryu and Starmie isn't necessary, and that would take forever. We need to outspeed Staryu and likely one-shot Starmie, which is quicker but not quick. So what I'm going to do is battle all the trainers on the SS Anne. I don't normally do this for a fully evolved Pokemon, but sadly, Rhydon, being a ground rock Pokemon, there just isn't another choice. If we could skip Misty for later, I'd do that, but just not an option, unfortunately. By the time I battle Misty, I'm at level 29. I outspeed and one-shot Staryu, and Starmie actually went for X Defend, and I still knock it out. In other words, I over-leveled. This, in theory, would be a big problem and would even be a reset because we wasted a ton of time gaining not a ton of experience points. However, there is a however here. There are other rock and grass Pokemon coming up very shortly, such as this trainer right here. And so these levels aren't going to be completely useless, and in fact may actually be even more necessary than you'd think, and the stat experience we get, which today are known as EVs, could help us later versus the Elite Four. So I'm not going to do anything so ridiculous as resetting. I'm going to continue on, and thankfully there were no problems leading to Celadon City. I decide to battle Giovanni first. Rhydon gets Bubble Beam, so we can easily one-shot both Rhyhorn and Onix. They're in the reverse order, but that's also how we got past the Hiker very quickly, Whitgag, although we also have Dig. Rhydon actually has a really nice moveset and can do a lot of different things, really. Truly, if it weren't for its typing combined with its bad speed, it would be one of the best Pokemon in the entire game. I had to skip Surge because we missed Misty. Haha, get it? Anyway, we just one-shot each and every one of his Pokemon. I'm going for Body Slam as opposed to Dig because it's quicker. And yeah, that's Surge. Finally, in our demolishment of the mid-game, we have Rock Slide from the Pokemon Mart. So we can one-shot, and look, we're outspeeding Gyarados. Those levels we got leading to Misty seem to be helping out here. And yeah, we one-shot every single Pokemon, and we have made it to, well, I guess the second half of the mid-game. Now, as someone who's making a tier list on all 151 Pokemon, I do enjoy classifying things and dividing things up into various sections. But to this point, while I've used terms like early game, mid-game, late game, I've never really defined what I mean by those things, or at least what they are to me. And I've thought about it in doing this video. And to me, early game really ends once you cut down that tree and get towards Rock Tunnel. And then I kind of divide the mid-game into two. The first section is everything that happens before you wake up the Snorlax. And then the second section really ends at the final Giovanni fight. And then Rival 6 and the Elite Four I consider the late game. I feel like if you've watched most of my videos, it makes sense from the perspective of a solo run to think of the game in these segments, because each segment can kind of give you certain problems. There are certain pros, certain cons, like the early game having no TMs, but the Pokemon are pretty weak using normal moves, etc. So we're in section 3 right now, and it is the longest section of the game, at least in terms of gym badges, but oftentimes is the easiest section. The first gym leader we're going to fight is Koga. Now, we don't have Earthquake yet, which sucks because once again, we have found ourselves poisoned, but it's not a big deal. We one-shot each and every Pokemon, and even if Weezing hits us with self-destruct, it's nothing. Thank you, Weezing, that helps me out. So yeah, Koga pretty easy. That is our 4th gym badge. We have not fought Erica yet. Now, Rival Fivel, and for those of you who are newer, it was a misspeak in an early video and it's just become kind of a thing, but I really consider him to be the boss of the mid-game, just because of his varied team and the fact that he can be such a barrier. And against a Pokemon like Rhydon, you can really see why that is. Sand Attack's a bad thing, and we do, as a result of that Sand Attack, outspeed Gyarados. As you're going to see in this second fight where it doesn't hit me, Gyarados actually outspeeds me and one-shots me with Hydro Pump. So even though Rhydon was absolutely obliterating the game before this, we're once again at a bit of an impasse here, and probably either need to use rare candies or level up. I level up a little bit and fight rival Fievel again, this time at level 40. Unfortunately for me, I miscalculated, and you can see the look on my face right there. That is someone who calculated incorrectly and was not outspeeding the Gyarados as of yet. Now, oftentimes when I'm thinking about what I want to do next, I'll just do a battle while I talk to chat. And I did that here. Surprisingly, well, not really that surprisingly, Hydro Pump missed. And because of that, you'd think, easy victory, we got this. But no, Venusaur has Razor Leaf, which crits. And since we don't outspeed, we're donezo. If we had a move to Badge Boost, then we'd be able to outspeed the Venusaur. But since we have no badge boosting move, that's something Golem will have, so Golem might be a quite bit better than Rhydon. We're gonna need another way to outspeed it, and it might just be leveling up. I battled every single trainer in Silph Company, because those trainers go away once you beat Giovanni, but before battling Rival Fievel, I realized a really smart strategy would be to go to Blaine's gym and beat all the trainers here. Again, these are trainers that will disappear, or at least be unbattleable, after we defeat Blaine. And they're going to give me a lot of experience points. Plus, when I beat Blaine, I will get a slight special boost, which may help out. I hope. Unsurprisingly, I battle Blaine, and Blaine was pretty easy. I can use Body Slam on Growlithe and Ponyta. I don't even need to use them, but Earthquake will do the trick. We get a Gen 1 miss and then a Growl after a Stomp, which is annoying, but even with an attack drop, we still one-shot both Rapidash and Arcanine. So that's pretty good. We didn't outspeed them, and I have a Diglett now because since we've removed Dig off of Rhydon, I need a way to quickly exit buildings like Silph Company and the Cinnabar Gym. Little optimizations that I don't really talk about too much in my videos, but are a huge part of these runs. Anyway, now since we've beaten every trainer, I don't need to go to the 5th floor. I was thinking about 5, but I need to battle Rival Fievel. And with 430, Rhydon is not going to be in a top tier, but maybe it can still cruise through the last part of the game. So, Pidgeot outspeeds due to Quick Attack, we knock it out, and at level 49, we do outspeed Gyarados. If we outspeed Gyarados, very likely we're going to outspeed Venusaur. Not Alakazam, but it doesn't confuse us, which is good. And then we just need Earthquake to one-shot, which it does. So, I wouldn't say easy peasy. I did a lot of leveling up, and I still have my rare candies because there are Agatha and Lance's Gyarados to worry about, in addition to the Champion's Gyarados. But at the very least, once we did everything we needed to do, the rival fight wasn't too bad, which isn't always the case. Anyway, I'm just going to quickly speed through the Giovanni fight. You can just use Earthquake or pretty much whatever you want and one-shot each and every one of his Pokemon. And so right now, we have left Sabrina, Erica, and the final Giovanni fight, although that one has to be done last. Since I'm already in Saffron, I battle Sabrina, and shockingly I outspeed Kadabra, which is pretty cool. That means I'll outspeed Mr. Mime and Venomoth. Alakazam I'm not going to outspeed, but Psywave does nothing, and it is a quick first try victory against Sabrina. Next, we make our way over to Erica. At this point, she's going to be pretty trivial. Again, we only left her this long because just making our way back to Celadon, we know it's a little out of the way, so might as well do it when the battle is going to be completely a joke. It's not like you get much of anything for beating Erica, just the ability to use Strength, which we don't really need until the late game, although there is a rare candy we can get now, so we'll go ahead and grab that. And then we'll battle Giovanni number 3. One thing that definitely sets this run apart from a lot of my other runs is that Rhydon is the first Pokemon we've used that is one-shotting things, so it's good, but it's not outspeeding things. Typically, those are going hand in hand. We outspeed in one-shot. This is really the first time where we only occasionally outspeed certain difficult Pokemon, but we tank an attack easily in one-shot. I'm kind of excited eventually to start doing runs outside of Generation 1, because as the games get more and more complicated, we can use alternate solo run strategies like being bulky or potentially using more status moves. Generation 1, though, is just kind of simple enough that most of the time outspeed one-shot is not just the best strategy, but in some cases with a single Pokemon, the only viable strategy. Rhydon, at least to this point, hasn't really been able to use that unless we really overlevel, and that is definitely going to be concerning when it comes to the late game, where there are many Pokemon that can just easily one-shot Rhydon, including Pokemon used by Rival 6, the battle we have to do right now. Rival 6 leads with his Pidgeot, and sometimes I'd use Mimic to mimic Agility, but I just don't want to do that yet if I don't have to. Although to be fair, Bubble Beam is kinda useless at this point, but since we outsped Gyarados, we probably are fine. Remember all those extra levels we got? And I mentioned the stat experience. This is why a slow Rhydon is outspeeding a much faster Gyarados. Unfortunately, we don't outspeed Venusaur, but good news, it goes for Vine Whip. Second good news, it doesn't knock me out. Very bad news, I don't knock it out. So I'm gonna have to level up, and that might mean using my rare candies here or doing a little bit of training. I think a lot about it, and I decide to pick option C, which I already mentioned, Mimic. Typically, Pokemon with movesets as good as Rhydon don't need Mimic, but since it doesn't have a way to boost its stats, we're gonna need to use it versus Pidgeot, not just to outspeed everything, but, and tell me if you've heard this one before, we're gonna use the Badge Boost glitch. Now, again, the reason I use the Badge Boost glitch is because this is kind of unavoidable. We need to use Agility to outspeed, but once we modify one stat, it modifies all our other stats in a positive way. It boosts it by 12.5%, so those boosts, which stack on each other, mean we are now going to one-shot Venusaur, and best yet, we didn't level up in the middle of the fight, which cancels the Badge Boost glitch. I mean, a lot of you have watched every video, you already knew this, but some people say they still like me explaining it, so now for the 80th time you've heard Badge Boost glitch. Rhydon doesn't really get to use it all that much because it doesn't have a move like Harden or Defense Curl, but in this battle, Agility worked. Unfortunately, in the final battle versus the champion, this strategy will fail. Why? Because the Pidgeot no longer knows Agility. And so we're going to have to figure out another way of doing this. What is that other way? Well, that's a problem for future Gyros, but through the magic of video editing, future Gyros is now current Gyros, or soon to be current Gyros, because right now I'm on the Elite Four. Loralee is first, and her Pokemon don't know water moves. You can see I have already used the rare candies, but I get hit by Aurora Beam, it lowers my attack, so technically that's a reset. You can see I haven't saved after using rare candies because I'm not sure if I have to level up even more. But in my second attempt, Rock Slide does one-shot both Dugong and surprisingly Cloyster, although I'm very grateful for that. We don't one-shot Slowbro, but Water Gun, which it doesn't use, isn't a big deal. Jinx outspeeds me, and that's not good. Lapras does not, which is fine. Then we can battle Bruno. What we're going to do against Bruno, I actually accidentally go for Body Slam, and then I swap Earthquake and Body Slam because that's what I want to be going for continuously. Whoopsies. We knock out all of Bruno's Pokemon except for Machamp in a single hit. Now, Agatha's going to be the case where if we hit her Pokemon, it's going to one-shot, but her Pokemon control us first. Gengar uses Dream Eater, so that's one very scary Pokemon, and I don't mean that in a pun way. It really is a Pokemon that can end a run. That's good. Golbat doesn't outspeed us, Rock Slide one-shots. Haunter does outspeed us, but Nightshade is perfectly fine. Arbok isn't an issue, and the second Gengar isn't as scary because all it has is Confuse Ray, not Hypnosis Dream Eater. So, yeah, we're through, but that just gets us to Lance, and Lance leads with Gyarados. I will know extremely quickly if this run is dead or not, because we need to outspeed Gyarados. Do we? Yes. Okay, so that means we make it to the champion semi-consistently every single time, which is good because the more times I make it to the champion, the more I can figure out what we need to do. You can notice I'm not really commenting the Lance fight because Rhydon is so darn powerful and we've increased its speed to such a point, it really is just making a joke out of everything. But now we gotta heal up. The champion is gonna be tough. Let's just see how it goes. So we know the champ starts with Pidgeot. All I can do is go for Rock Slide. It goes for Sky Attack, but I knock it out first. Alakazam is going to outspeed me. It goes for Psychic. I would have liked it to drop my special, but it doesn't, and we knock it out. And now I have a bit of an idea. Rhydons don't learn things like Harden or Defense Curl, but this one has both Leer and Tail Whip. I'm going to mimic Leer because it has the quickest animation, and I'm just going to spam it. Why am I doing this? Well, I don't really care about lowering Rhydon's defenses, but I want it to spam Leer and Tail Whip. Each time it lowers my defense, it is inadvertently raising my speed and attack. Once I run out of Leers, I think I have enough badge boost to sweep. I outspeed Gyarados, and I miss. And then it misses! Yay! The game, look at that face. That is the face of someone who just had a run flash before his eyes. But unfortunately, we do level up. So all those badge boosts, although they got me past the Gyarados, aren't going to get me past Venusaur necessarily. Rhydon is outsped by Arcanine, and unless we one-shot, we're done. We go for Earthquake, and we don't one-shot. We're done. I know you were expecting me to win. I was setting it up that way. I'm just such a great storyteller. The truth is, I was really annoyed that we lost this way, but there is an easy way to fix this problem. All we're going to have to do is when we use rare candies, we just need to save one until the very end. The singular level we aren't going to have in these early fights, as we absolutely speed through it, they're not going to make much of a difference. And we thankfully don't get trolled by Agatha in our second fight. I wasn't sure if we would still outspeed the Gyarados, but the answer is yes. So we make it right back to the champion, but this time before the champion battle, all I need to do is use a rare candy, and now I will not level up in the middle of the fight. And it should be GG, right? Let's see. Take two. So we send out Rhydon, Wing Attack, Rock Slide. That's one. A special drop here would be pretty useful. It goes for Psybeam. It gets a crit. Doesn't really matter. We knock it out. Now we go for Mimic, and we use Tail Whip. Tail Whip's a bit of a longer animation, so I probably should have picked Leer again, but I don't know. Change it up, mix it up. Takes a while for Rhydon to start using any status moves. Keeps going for Fury Attack, which has like a long animation that takes forever, and we only get 2 badge boosts. Is that going to be enough? Hopefully. We outspeed and don't miss against Gyarados. Again, not sure if 2 badge boosts is going to be enough, but we outspeed Arcanine, that's a good sign. We outspeed Venusaur, and 2 badge boosts was enough. At level 67, Rhydon was able to beat the champion, but unfortunately, because of all the struggles we had, it took a really long time to do so. 5 hours, 28 minutes, which isn't really a great time for a fully evolved Pokemon. Looking at the list, you can see it puts Rhydon in, unfortunately, the second lowest tier. And where exactly to put it, I don't know. It's a little bit complicated because it had an easy time versus Brock, and it's at level 67, but it didn't take 551 like Tangela. So, I don't know. I just put it between Beedrill and Hitmonchan. I'll be honest with you guys, except at the very top and at the very bottom, the reason I did tier list and not rankings is because it's more important to see what tier the Pokemon is in as opposed to what is directly above and below. There can definitely be a bit of debate within a few spots within the tier. But yeah, Rhydon had some very good strengths and just Achilles heel weaknesses. Maybe Golem will be better. Only time will tell. In the meantime, I got more videos to make. I'll see you guys next week. Once again, big thank you to Raid for sponsoring the video. Click the link in the description or scan the QR code to install Raid. Take care.